The Pit of Light and Shadows. Chapter 1. The Rhythm of the Pit. Julian's first morning in the pit was like being dropped into the belly of a beast. He had imagined traders as sharp men in clean suits, sipping black coffee, speaking in quiet, deadly whispers. But the truth was closer to war. The floor surged and bucked with human noise, a torrent of shouts and hand signals, papers scattering like feathers in a hurricane. The sound was guttural, part chant, part scream, part drumbeat, and it throbbed in his bones like the bass of dirty house music. Here, fortunes were made and lost in seconds. Here, the gods of capitalism descended daily. Julian tightened his tie and waded into the chaos. At first, he was just another apprentice, running slips, carrying numbers. But quickly, he began to feel it. The strange electricity, the rhythm that wasn't just financial, it was spiritual. And then, the faces began to shift. The man beside him, grizzled and stone-faced, barked bids with the steadiness of marble. When Julian turned, he no longer saw a broker, but Marcus Aurelius himself. Robes shimmering beneath the suit, eyes like carved granite. "Watch the crowd, boy," Marcus rumbled, his voice cutting through the din. "You think they are free? No, they are slaves. Slaves to greed, to fear, to the hunger of the ticker. The obstacle is the way. Every fall in price, every surge, is but an illusion of control. Train your mind, not your appetite." Later that day, another figure caught his eye. A flamboyant trader, dripping with gold rings and silk ties, laughed with reckless abandon as he winked at the clerks. His grin curled and shifted until Julian saw Oscar Wilde standing there, brandishing wit like a blade. "Julian!" Wilde shouted above the storm. "They'll tell you money buys happiness, but darling, it only rents it by the hour. Look around. These men aren't chasing profit, they're chasing applause, validation, the thrill of the spectacle. The market is theater. The question is, will you be an actor or will you see through the play?" And then the crash came. The numbers plummeted. Shouts turned to roars, roars to panic. Papers littered the floor like snow. Julian froze, heart racing, until a hand landed on his shoulder. It was the floor boss, eyes calm as a still pond. For a moment, Julian saw not a man but the Buddha, radiant and immovable amidst the chaos. "Do not cling to the rise," Buddha murmured. "Do not despair at the fall. Gain and loss are twins. They come and go, like breaths. Your suffering comes not from the market, but from your grasping at it." Julian exhaled. For the first time, the pit felt quiet, not silent, but balanced, like the downbeat in a song. That night, he felt saudade, a longing for something he had touched, but could not yet name. Chapter 2. Dalí in the Pit. The next morning, the pit surged again, wild as ever. Yet among the frenzy, Julian saw him, a trader in a violet tie, moving with absurd flourishes, hand signals choreographed like a dance. His face stretched, melted, reformed. It was Salvador Dalí. The ceiling sagged into dripping clocks, chalkboards melted like wax. Dalí twirled a slip of paper into a sagging timepiece, laughing. "Julian, do you not see? These men cling to time, seconds, minutes, profits. But time is elastic. A trade that lasts a heartbeat feels eternal. A fortune built in a year disappears overnight. The truth is not in the number. It is in the imagination you bring to it." The pit warped into dream. Traders became mannequins. Numbers bled into colors. Dalí's cane tapped the rhythm of madness. "Absurdity," Dalí cried, "is freedom. Only the irrational eye sees the whole picture. In this market, to survive, you must embrace madness as genius." Julian laughed, dizzy in the vision. And when Dalí vanished, the absurdity lingered like perfume. Chapter 3. Frankie in the Pit. By mid-morning another day, Julian heard it. A pulse beneath the roar. Thump, thump, thump. The pit dissolved into a nightclub. Smoke machines hissed, slips of paper became confetti, shouts turned into percussion. On the steps stood Frankie Knuckles, broad and glowing, palms moving like a DJ over turntables. "Julian," Frankie said, velvet voice booming, "the market is like house music. It never ends. It only flows. Don't fight the chaos. Ride the beat." The crash of bids became bass drums. The flutter of hands became hi-hats. Julian swayed, caught in rhythm. "Presence is the only wealth," Frankie whispered. "Wealth, sex, greed, they're just noise. Rhythm is what's real. Find the rhythm, and you find yourself." When Frankie faded, Julian still pulsed with the beat. The pit was no longer chaos. It was a dance. Chapter 4. Hypatia in the Pit. The pit was a battlefield of men, yet one morning, light fell on a woman standing calm amidst the storm. She glowed with a quiet authority. Scrolls shimmered faintly in her hands. It was Hypatia of Alexandria. "Julian," she said, her voice like a bell, "you have learned rhythm, absurdity, detachment. Now you must learn wisdom. The market is not chaos. It is cosmos. Ratios, spirals, geometry beneath the madness. Knowledge and intuition entwined. The chalkboards dissolved into constellations. Traders orbited like planets. Equations bloomed in the air. Julian saw Fibonacci spirals in the rise and fall of prices. Trust both mind and soul, Hypatia said. Calculation without intuition is blind. Intuition without knowledge is lost. Together, they are light. When she vanished, the stars remained inside Julian's chest. Back chapter 5, the crash. The reckoning came without warning. The market collapsed, numbers free fell. Traders screamed, clawing at air, slips covering the floor like snow in a blizzard. The pit was terror incarnate. Julian froze until the voices returned. Marcus, control what you can, release the rest. Wilde, tragedy, darling. Tragedy disguised as finance. Buddha, gain and loss are twins, let go. Dalí, absurd, laugh at the madness. Frankie, ride the drop, stay in rhythm. Even in collapse there is order. Trust both knowledge and intuition. And so Julian breathed. He laughed. He swayed in rhythm. He saw spirals in the falling numbers. He survived. When the bell ended the storm, traders slumped in ruin. But Julian stood calm, heartbeat steady, soul alight. He had not been crushed. He had been remade. Epilogue, the sage of LaSalle Street. Julian left the Board of Trade, but the pit never left him. He carried Marcus's discipline, Wilde's irony, Buddha's detachment, Dalí's absurdity, Frankie's rhythm, Hypatia's wisdom. He taught in warehouses, on rooftops, in smoke-thick cafes. He told seekers how greed had been his monastery, how chaos had taught him grace. Some saw him as eccentric, others as enlightened. He only smiled. Late at night, standing at the edge of a dance floor, Julian would feel the bass line and remember the pit, not with fear, but with saudade. That bittersweet ache for the place where greed and wisdom collided, where he had been shattered and remade. He had gone in chasing fortune. He walked out carrying light. And so the sage of LaSalle Street wandered the world, a man who had learned in the heart of greed that even there, especially there, lay the seeds of enlightenment.